Welcome to Accounting High.
And yeah, I launched it on Reddit. First post does pretty well, a couple thousand impressions and whatever. And then like a week later or something like that, I post it again. And then that one goes like gangbusters. Like it was like front page of our accounting Reddit. And then I would log into the spreadsheet and there'd be like concurrently like 50 or 100 people in the spreadsheet. Like at any given moment, like I'd check on like 9 p.m. on a Tuesday and I'm like, holy crap. Oh my God, this is insane.
May I have your attention, please?
Accounting High. From cloud accountancy way back to desktop accounting advisory and tech apps adopt. Went solo with the rap, Scotty's still the same. Raleigh is the spot where I edutain. Like, share, connect, comment, follow this. And subscribe to our podcast. Next when we drop, cause you know it don't stop. It's 24/7 on the Accounting Highlight. TikTok clips don't watch, just some shitty tax talk. Cleaning up accounting with a bucket and a mop. Then we lean back and nod cause the class is about to start at Accounting High. Scotty, OKR. Accounting High. Accounting High.
Introducing the star of our show.
Scotty and the Dom.
We're gonna have a problem here.
Dom Piscopo, Dominic, what's up, homie? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Scotty. Thanks for having me, man. I love the intro. I think you played that on the episode you did with me, too, and it's nice. That's your daughter singing, right?
That is my daughter singing. What you're referring to is the episode I did with you on the Big Four Transparency. Students, you're in for a treat here because we have the founder of the Big Four Transparency, none other than Dominic Piscopo himself. What's up, homie?
Man, it's a pleasure to be here. It feels a little bit different talking to you online now that we finally got to meet in person, bridging the gap. That was awesome. Your live performance was incredible there. And yeah, it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, we shared a good meal together. I probably only ate the carrot of that meal because I was about to perform, but had a great time up in Chicago. And I had been meaning to reach out to you soon to have you on the show. So it was great that we got to see each other in person. Students, you're going to learn a lot about creating a business here. Dominic is getting ready to be full-time on his own at his own business aimed at accounting firms to help you plan better, plan your capacity, and just plan everything better because he's given you the transparency. And we're going to get really into that. But first, I want to talk about your entrance into the profession. You are a Canadian for our students.
Sir.
You're from Ottawa. We've had other guests on the show from Ottawa before, so this is great. We're coming back home, back to Ottawa, but you got your start in tax. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Talk to us. How did you get into this accounting space? Tell us, you can go back as far as you want, but tell us how you end up getting into tax.
I mean, as far as I want, I guess if I were to even go real far to high school, I just like my sister was like the big brain, you know, perfect student, like really into the sciences. And all the science teachers at school were so excited for me to come through. And I immediately absolutely hated every last bit of it, realized that wasn't for me. I really struggled doing stuff that I'm not into. And so I was always trying to figure that stuff out. And I was always fascinated by business, but you can technically study entrepreneurship or something like that, but I just don't know how like necessarily practical that is. And so for me, I was like, okay, I want to do something in the vein of business. Accounting seems like the one that will definitely lead to, at the very least, a good job. And you can still get some pretty good outcomes from that. At the same time, it's really easy to switch out of accounting into a general business degree, but it's very hard to switch from a general business degree into accounting. So that was kind of the decision for me. I actually started getting really into it. Like I really liked the people I was with. I actually studied fully in French until third year university. I had never like taken an English, but then in third year I switched to the English stream and I was like, whoa, like actually I really like these people, and like accounting students get a certain rap. And I was like, I really don't think that that's fair. Like these are great people that I'm surrounded by. And from then on out, I really enjoyed it. The tax side specifically, I always found it to be like a big game, like a big puzzle, you know, like what's the biggest outcome? And so that's kind of how I ended up choosing tax. It was honestly a little bit arbitrary too, at like a recruiting event where I was just like, I like these people and they're in the tax stream, so I guess I'll just go tax. And I ended up at Deloitte on like the best tax team I could have possibly ended up on. So my coach at the firm is like this crazy prodigy. He's a partner now. I think he made partner at 30, maybe 31.
Wow.
At a big four firm. He's absolutely incredible. Also named Dom, hilariously, went to the same high school as me. So
Wow.
he was.
And how was he
yeah.
appointed to be your coach? Because of the similarities, or just?
No, he knew my sister. Like, they were in the same cohort. They were like the top 2 students of their grade, kind of thing. So they knew each other. And when I was doing recruiting, like, he was really like, oh, you could come be on my team. And I realized like how good this guy was. And he really cares about people as well. Like, he's that combination of just like a brilliant mind, but also like really cares about people and cares about your development and stuff. So to me, I was like, okay, well, I can have this guy as my coach, or I can kind of like roll the dice and have whoever if I go somewhere else or another stream. So I really picked that and got put on all the best projects. Like right away, I got to like help on like some huge M&A deals, reverse takeovers. Like, I got a lot of leeway from working more directly with this guy. And at the same time, I was getting really, really good education from him. So
Dom and Dom, the team.
it was pretty good. Yeah. No, it was awesome. I had a good experience overall there for sure.
Dom and Dom at the Big D, at Big Deloitte. All right.
Yeah.
What did that lead to? You're doing different things outside of just tax too. Were you excited by those, and were you looking to explore some new horizons?
Yes, it didn't entirely work out in the context of my role, but yeah. So like I said, I got to do a lot of like the really cool projects and stuff like that. I was also really, really heavily involved in like campus recruitment. I would do a lot of like strategic tax reviews, which is like when they're like pitching a client on like a project. I think I was the only analyst level person in the like blockchain tax team, they called it, for Deloitte Canada. So I got to like do all that interesting stuff, get taken to conferences and all that. And then you start talking evaluation metrics, and you figure out that, hey, all these different things that I really love, that I'm really passionate about, that I'm spending a lot of time on, are basically going to count for zero. Like, I need to just worry about my billable hours. Meanwhile, I'm like, I love doing this stuff. I'm actually actively involved in business development, bringing on board, building relationships with. I was hosting Product Hunt at our office. Like, I was doing a lot of that type of stuff. And some conversations came up where it was like, hey man, like you got to like lock in on just the billable hours. And I was kind of like around the target, but it was like my whole cohort was like 15% in excess of the target. And it was like, hey, like, you got to do a little bit more like that. And I just really was like, that's not what I love doing. Like, I just don't want to pick up another like personal tax return. I don't find that interesting whatsoever. I really want to try to do more of these, right? Like strategic tax reviews, things like that. They do bring a lot of value to the business. But the fact is, if it doesn't result in a project, like those billable hours basically get written off. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of what I was finding is like a lot of my favorite things were not going to be looked at in any kind of way that contributed to advancing my career until maybe I reached, I don't know what, manager, senior manager level. And there was a really good partner in our office as well. Mohammed, he was great, like a real people person, cared about people a lot, which is, it's funny because it's very opposite to like the tropes people have about like big four partners. And they're like, oh, they're just all about their money and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm sure he's making crazy money, but like he really, really, truly did care about the people there. And we had some conversations and like it seemed kind of obvious that like, hey, you could probably have a really, really good career here, but let's not kid ourselves. It's not going to be an easy journey for you to get there in terms of like yourself personally, right? Mm-hmm. And like having to put my head down, do the things I really don't like, deal with a lot of kind of like, bureaucracy and stuff like that I'm really, really opposed to. And so that was one major sticking point for me. And then the other one was comp. Comp was like a huge problem for me at the Big Four because I was working in nightlife like all through university. And like I had a lot of very, very high paid like temporary, like part-time jobs and side gigs and stuff like that. Like I was DJing weddings. I was working at like a really, really like nice bar at the time.
This was entrepreneurial though. Were you doing this on your own?
Yeah.
You weren't like
yeah.
working for a company that was DJing weddings. You just
No, yeah. So my
side
dad
jobs.
did some when I was like young, and I had like done a few with him like growing up, and then eventually like I ended up doing a bunch of weddings kind of out on my own. So he had like the speakers and stuff like that, and I bought the more up to date decks and like this and that. Like just I modernized it, and then I kind of kept it going. But it was like I think when I was a full-time analyst, I was done. I already had a year of experience as an intern. I think my full-time analyst offer, I like came in at like 46 maybe
At Deloitte?
plus or minus $2,000, yeah, a year. Meanwhile, I would go out and I'd make $1,200 in a night DJing, or on Friday night at the bar I worked at, I would make half my week's pay.
wow.
So, and again, like if you're coming from like a grocery store job and then you like work at a big four, you're like, oh my God, what a blessing. I'm making so much money an hour. Versus me, I'm like, hey, like I work a 6-hour shift Friday night and I make half of what I work here, and I'm working 60 hours a week during busy, like, or more than that, honestly.
And
during
you
busy
can do
season.
the math because that's what you're doing. You're working with these numbers and you're seeing it. And it didn't sound like you were working with too many small businesses at the time. But what you found is that going theme for you is you struggle with the things you're not interested in. You weren't interested in doing all the billable hour stuff. You were doing the fun things that wasn't helping your career at Deloitte. They might have been helping you as an individual, and you must have been learning a lot from all the things you were interested in, but it wasn't translating. So
Yeah.
I see the dead end here. You reached it just about there, right? And then what'd you do?
Yeah, so I started having some conversations with the partner there. I'm going to have to go find something else. No, I don't think this is it for me. Partner actually told me, he's like, hey, we have a client. He's looking for like a really, really entrepreneurial person to come be a controller. And at the time, that was like a 50% pay increase for me. Like it was like a huge thing. That was not a good role. I was like, and again, I learned so much.
Wow.
And I designed a POS system from back to front because I had a ton of restaurant experience. So I worked with like the product developers, and I designed like the point of sale system, like the click through menus, everything. I integrated new payment systems and platforms. I think I had 4 full-time jobs, right? Like it was not for me.
You were wearing a lot of hats there.
Yeah. And I learned a lot. I can actually like do this stuff. You just got to like grit your teeth through it and like do some learning while you're doing it. And I think that was really empowering for me on the like entrepreneurial
It must have
journey.
been fun. Yeah, it's also fun building things and starting from nothing and
yeah.
seeing what comes up out of it.
Yeah.
And you know what you're capable of, and you figure out what you're made of too. So that didn't work out.
Yeah, so that didn't work out. And then I ended up at Rewind, which is a tech company. They do cloud backups. They're actually in the accounting space as well. They do a lot more than what they do in the accounting space, but they do QBO backups. Shout out to Rewind.
Yeah, for our students, they made it into the tournament the first year. That's kind of how we got connected in the first place. So Rewind, you've been there for a little while now, and that's
3 years.
That's the tech space. Were you in the accounting adjacent area? Were you working with accountants or not at all?
Sort of. I've done a lot of pivots. I went from tax to controller to FP&A senior analyst. So FP&A, financial planning and analysis. So doing a lot of our like budgeting and stuff like that. And I joined a 4-person FP&A team, or a 3-person FP&A team, but they were going to hire a 4th person. And for the last almost a year, like I've been the FP&A team. So the job changed quite considerably. And now I'm handing that off and I'm out. Rewind was actually I finally found like, okay, this is actually a good place. And they do value a lot of my just chasing the dopamine and being like, I need to have an impact outside of my job description. And like, it's actually been a pretty good place for that, which is cool. So, yeah.
Okay. So you knew you needed to have an impact, or you felt that, and you recognized that as like a dopamine chase of wanting to achieve more and do more. So that's what kind of got you started on starting this whole Big Four transparency. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so you're doing that
I'm
on the side.
Yeah. Okay. So on my way out of the previous job, right before Rewind, I had just built this thing. And then when I started at Rewind, I actually launched it on Reddit, or maybe a month before I started or something. I launched it on Reddit, and Big Four Transparency went incredibly viral.
Well,
Reddit.
yeah, I want to see how that started. So this was sort of like happening or brewing in the background. What are you doing on Reddit that you see the need to go on there and to post this on there? What is it that's going on in your head?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things in the back of my mind with starting Big Four Transparency. First of all, yeah, like all the conversations on Reddit, everyone's like, how much are you making? How much should I be making? I'm making this much in this city. Am I underpaid?
You weren't
right?
making that much at the Big Four when you were there.
No. It was hilarious. It was awful. Yeah.
You're all about transparency. How much were you making at Rewind, or are you making at Rewind now before you're leaving?
I'm making like 103.
Yeah, so you're making more than double of what you were making back at Deloitte. And it wasn't that long ago. It was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So at Deloitte, by the time I left, I think some of this is a little blurry. I think I was making 52,000 and I left for a job making, I think 75.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then I came in at Rewind, actually like it wasn't a jump up in comp. I actually like took a job. I was making either the same
sort of
or
like a lateral
$5,000 more. Yeah.
You made a lateral move to a better company or a company that you could see a future in.
Yeah, and I had like a bonus program and I had whatever. So like I was making more in comp and like the equity and stuff like that. Yeah, I made a bit of a lateral move. And then actually like when I was looking to leave, I actually like interviewed for a job where it was like insane money. And partway through
ready to
that,
leave Rewind,
okay, yeah. As
okay.
of kind of like November, I was starting to be like, all right, it's kind of like my time to go. And I started interviewing, and I actually like interviewed at this insurance company, and it was like I interviewed for this job. Total comp would have been like 190,000. And partway through, I had a conversation with someone who wanted to invest in Big Four Transparency, and they were like, hey, like, I really think that like this could be a real thing. Like I could like help you out with seed funding just to like kind of bridge the gap so you could go full time and stuff like that. And so I was interviewing for this job, which was like almost twice what I'm making. By the time that I'd had that conversation with the potential investor, I was just like, man, I don't think I want this job. I think I want to work on this project. I think I have to pursue this. I need to give myself a shot here. And so that was like a big eye-opening moment for me. And so since then, I've been trying to like move stuff around to make that happen. And
wow.
Here we are. Yeah.
So that conversation point, you saw some big potential in the Big Four Transparency because somebody else gave you that validation or somebody else. And was this before the Reddit post or after?
Sorry, this was recent. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the Reddit post.
I want to go back to the Reddit post because this reminds me of the rise of Lil Dicky. Of Dave Bird was a Reddit post that blew up his videos that he posted. He posted some videos and he had a Reddit post and then he went viral. So Dom is Lil Dicky in this scenario, right?
Love it. Love it. So when I was at Deloitte, when I got my full-time offer, I realized that we were actually making less than every other firm in the city of Ottawa. And so I challenged the partner with that, which is an insane move to do. But anyways, I did it. I went to the partner. I was like, hey, like, this is kind of bogus. Like, I know these jobs don't pay well at this level, but like, this is insane. We're making less than every single other firm in the city. And he said, oh, I didn't know that. Get me the data and I'll make it right.
Oh.
So this is pre-Big Four Transparency. It doesn't exist. It's not even an idea yet. But I'm just emailing people. I'm like, yo, how much are you making? and they actually tell me, and I bring it to the partner, and my whole cohort got a raise of like $4,000, which when you're making like 40-something thousand, like that's a lot. And I realized, like, I was like, oh my God, Deloitte doesn't know what they should be paying people? That's crazy. And so fast forward, I'm trying to solve this problem.
They know what they can get away with.
Yeah.
They know how much they can pay people and get away with it. I think that they knew they could have paid you more and they didn't have to until you asked.
Fair. I also think, though, that they kind of just had their head down and they didn't realize that they had truly, truly fallen behind.
Okay. Fair. That's fair, too. You were helping out Inform this, and people were just giving you their salaries, too, because why not?
So I had that kind of as a lived experience. And then, years later, I'm trying to be a little bit more entrepreneurial. I'm listening to Indie Hackers, My First Million. I'm like, podcasts are my like tribe for like entrepreneurship. And I'm learning stuff from that. And I'm like, I need to learn no code tools. And so I'm reading all these Reddit posts. Everyone's talking about salaries. And I'm like, oh, I could like build something like that. And I'll just throw it out in the community. It'll be like a big service to everyone on Reddit. It'll be great. So I build this thing and it's not so different than what the website is today, but it's an input form. The inputs wash through a couple things to like erase the trace of anyone who has actually made that input. So basically it goes into like one system, which is registered under my name, registered under another system. So there's no trace of whose Google account basically did this input into the Google Sheets. So it's just a way to anonymize that.
Yeah. Do you advertise that to the person that's inputting the data? Do you show
I just
them?
say it's anonymous, but I don't say the full flow. But like there is like a flow that's very intentional that like there isn't actually like any grain. It's my Google account that has made every entry technically because of like the flow that it goes through. And so, yeah, just build this thing and it's presented in a spreadsheet and I have this website front end and I just built it all myself and using Softer. It's like a no code tool. It's pretty easy to use. And yeah, I launched it on Reddit and I just say like, hey, like I noticed there's a lot of discussions here, like check it out. Let me know what you think. First post does pretty well, gets a couple thousand impressions and whatever. And then like a week later or something like that, I post it again. And I say like, hey, there's already like 200 submissions. And then that one goes like gangbusters. Like it was like front page of our accounting Reddit for like, I think days. And then I would log into the spreadsheet to like see what was going on, see what kind of entries, and there'd be like concurrently like 50 or 100 people in the spreadsheet. Any given moment, like I'd check on like 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I'm like, holy crap, this is crazy. Oh my God, this is insane. And so I did that. I had really poor data validation and stuff. The data was all a mess. I tried to clean it up. I had to delete a lot of entries that were like of very poor quality and whatever. And now I have the like kind of more data validation rules in place. And I also do a lot of like just manual cleaning as well. I spend a lot of time in there just like fixing it up.
Yeah, this is your baby. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
You built this. And it's working, and it's something that you saw. Did it get bigger than you thought it would? And I know you probably had big dreams for it, but in the beginning, as it was going somewhat like viral, was this as expected to you? Did you expect this to happen?
No, this was never intended as a business or anything. Like I was like, whoa, like we might get 1,000 submissions at this rate.
Not a
like,
business,
this is
but
crazy.
the virality of it and the reason that people, because it's crowdsourced data. And it's stuff that people don't want to talk about. We get some salary data as a firm owner. I get salary data from like Robert Half and from some of these others. It's always like 2 years old. I don't even really look at it. It's not even worth it anymore. I know you're cringing, but that's basically what I had at my disposal, or I could Google. What you're doing here is getting real people's information. So back to the question.
Yeah, I thought this could get to like maybe 1,000 submissions a year. And we're coming up on 17,000 in 3 years now.
Wow. That's dope.
And that's after cleaning. It's probably closer to 20,000. There's just been a lot.
Let's just, removed. I get it. You want the integrity of the data, but we can round 17 up to 20 anyway. It's close. So about 20,000 submissions there. And where are most of these located? What's the geography look like?
Primarily North America, but everywhere.
Okay, so it's not just Canada. It's not just your little Ottawa town.
No.
I don't even think there's that many accountants there, obviously. It's going everywhere, mostly North America. Probably the bigger cities probably have more representation, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's pretty representative of general population of accounting. Right?
And would you say the spread of this happened mostly on Reddit and through Reddit, or where else is this being transmitted?
Reddit, Fishbowl, and then obviously word of mouth.
What's Fishbowl?
It's this like anonymous like chat. You can like have an anonymous login and like it's meant for like more professionals, I think, and you can have conversations on there. I haven't been a huge fan of Fishbowl lately. Like it's just gotten kind of deprecated and like people, I don't know. People are sick of me too. Like I get reported anytime I like try to be helpful and like answer a question and like whatever. So I'm kind of done with them, but yeah.
So you're not trying to sell anything to anybody on there at this point. No. What's the issue there?
I don't know. As soon as I like told people that I was like, yeah, like I'm looking to work with firms with some of this, like I think a very silent few people like got really upset about that. Like I think there's like 10 people out there like, how dare you? And like you're just told like big tech using your data is evil. And I'm like, you do understand that like if a firm understands how they should be paying you, it's probably going to go one way, and it's probably that they have a pain point that they can't retain staff, they can't attract staff, and they're working with me to figure out that they need to pay you more. But some people are like, evil, using data. And it's like, all right, man, like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, I get it. Well, it's also just that mindset too. And you're not going to change people's minds.
Yeah.
But it's also the conversion of I'm doing something for free and then now I've got some paid offering. I think that draws a line sometimes too.
I think so, yeah. Which is unfortunate, but
that's okay. Fishbowls will be its own little fishbowl. It's an echo chamber. You can go out into the real world and find some real opinions. And Reddit seems to still be a good platform. People are still sharing it on there. I could see this being a younger demographic, but what is the demographic of the data that you have of these 20,000? What's roughly the age range?
So the highest demographic I have, I believe, is seniors working in public accounting. Analyst is number 2, manager number 3. And then I think senior manager and interns are pretty equal. And there's a lot of partners on there too and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So, but going back to creating this and turning this into a brand, when did you start calling it Big Four Transparency?
Right from the get-go. I was like, okay, like how, I'd heard 12 minutes of a podcast talking about SEO and I was like, I need to rank for Big Four salaries. And so whatever, I was like, okay, Big Four transparency, whatever. I really didn't put much thought into it. It was also like a pun, like I am big for transparency. Like I like transparency. So it was one of those things.
I usually catch those kind of puns. I didn't catch that one. Well, because I stop at the Big Four. I see you're using Big Four. And it was just literally straight up, but I'm big for transparency. It's FOR. I get it. That's dope.
Yeah. The Big Four came to bite me a little bit. Like some people are like, oh, can I input if I'm not at a Big Four? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like this is not meant to be.
Well, that
Big
was my
Four.
concern. Again, you're doing this stuff kind of on the background. For the whole time you've been at Rewind, this has also been in existence sort of as your own little ambitious project. It's turned into the little engine who could, I guess. When did you see that there was a path to revenue?
So I'd say about a year in, I was like, oh my God, I've got something here, right? Like the website was getting 10,000 visitors a month or something like that at that point. It was getting pretty big. And I was like, I got to do something with this. So my inspirations, indie hackers, my first million, whatever, I'm like, oh, I'm going to make a job board and I'm going to get that passive income, baby. Job boards are not a fun business, in my opinion. So anyways, I made a job board, kept it running for 6 months. I grew it to maybe $1,500 a month or something like that. And with that, I had a newsletter and I was sharing out jobs on the newsletter and all that. And I basically I went to a wedding. I got really, really sick, with COVID, food poisoning, the whole 9 yards. And I stopped doing outreach to get new jobs on there for a month. And it went to 0. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do a job board. That's a bad business.
It's like if you had a podcast or something, you stopped releasing episodes for a whole month. Yeah.
It's like a treadmill, right? You're signing yourself up for a treadmill that you can grow it, but stuff's falling off the backside real quickly, right? So you're filling this bucket and it has a huge hole in it. I killed the job board and then I was like, okay, I got to do other stuff. And I was eventually okay, this data is clearly valuable. Let me see if I can a firm to want to use it. So I was just spamming every firm owner on LinkedIn. This was at this point, maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. And, I got this really, really small firm out of Quebec City. They were a 5-person firm. The guy's sure, I'll pay you $1,000 for this. I could use some help. I was like, boom, got him. This is good. This is great. This is the way forward. And
did you say that was your minimum viable product? Was that determining the price and everything right there?
Exactly. Yeah, that was very much minimum viable product. And then it's actually really funny. Brandon Hall, I saw he was getting flamed on Twitter over a job he had posted. And people are like, that's a BS salary.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
whatever.
When he was talking about how, paying people in geography. I remember that post. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just messaged him. I'm like, hey, need some help with this? And I think he was my second or third ever customer. And he was super outspoken about it. He was very public. He was like, oh, I'm using this thing. It's fantastic. And that gassed me up a ton. And then a couple months after that, I got my first Big Four. I was actually working with one of the Big Four in Canada. And I was like, okay,
Wait. The Big Four, one of the Big Four reached out to you. Deloitte?
I actually can't say.
You can't
but
say.
not Deloitte.
Oh, well,
not
man,
Deloitte.
I was going to say, well, I guess you had to say it's not Deloitte because you already
Yeah.
had the connections there. You know the people there, but all right.
Yeah. Shockingly, I have not
Wow,
managed
okay.
to like make Deloitte work yet.
All right, so
but
one
yeah,
of the big four reached out to you after this. How did they find you?
basically a guy, what was it? One of the guys who worked there who was like going on pat leave or something. Like he was heading out and he messaged me and he's like, hey, like this is really cool. I really like your product. And he knew me through like a friend of a friend because I had tried to start a community. I'm like a hustler on this. I'm like really trying stuff and it doesn't work. I kill it off. I don't care. Like, oh, I'll keep moving, right? I'll keep trying. So I was trying to start a community. One of the guys that I tried to start the community with knew one of the guys working in the compensation team at that Big Four, put me on his radar. He left on like pat leave, but he like kind of threw that Hail Mary ball where he's like, I'll intro you to the guy taking my place. Talk with him. And it was like a 3-month process to get in there. I had to get like ridiculously high business insurance to even be allowed to work with them and stuff like that. And so that takes us to like November is when I closed on that Big Four, when I was getting a little bit sick of kind of my current job and when I kind of was interviewing at that other place. And that Big Four like closing was like my validation. I was like, man, if the Big Four wants this, like there is clearly a need and a value to this data. And so I want to pursue that.
That's crazy too, because it's not the Big Four that you had the connection with.
No, I had zero connections here whatsoever. Like it was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, then it would also be reason to keep the name. You can't change the name at that point. The Big Four's
Exactly.
validated your thing. So
Yeah.
now what you're doing is now make it clear for our listeners, for our students, what it
Yep.
is you're offering, what your minimum viable product is, and also what the future of Big Four transparency is, because we've had some cool conversations about where it's going.
Yeah. So the minimum viable product now actually just got a really nice facelift and upgrade like 2 weeks ago. So I'm rolling out a new dashboard. And basically what that dashboard is, like it sits on top of all of the data and it has everything kind of captured in there. And you basically build your basket like of what you would like to see. So you could pick any time period over the last 3 years where you want data included, any geography, what currency, right, which is kind of a way of picking a country. So Canada, USD. You could pick like, do I want internal hires, external promotions? Because there's a difference in how what they're paid. You could pick a stream, audit, tax, etc., and it'll auto-populate this dashboard for you. And on the dashboard, you get 25th, 50th, 75th, 90th percentile of comp at every single level. And then average salary, average bonus, average hours worked, average job satisfaction reply, and like just everything, like a wealth of information that you can then use for your HR guidance
And
decisions.
this is information that you've curated from the people themselves. They're filling this out. They're entering this in directly.
Yeah.
No BS.
Yeah, all first party data.
All first party data. And even based on if they're working in an office or hybrid, do they have that kind of data too?
Yep. Yeah.
That's so cool. And it's
Yeah.
continuous. You're continuing to get this. You said, any given time you were looking at it, there's about 15, 20 people on that sheet entering more data in there.
Yeah. So the offering that I give to firms is typically quarterly updates because I want to take the time, do some statistical analysis, make sure the data is clean, standardize the spelling of certain things so that like you can select it cleanly in the checkbox. And blah,
So
blah,
it's
blah,
about
like
3
little
months
things.
delay
Yeah.
on the data.
Yeah. So like on July 30th, I gave an update going all the way up to like July 15th. So like you get a clean update, but then the next update's going to go out like October 15th or October 30th or something like that. But it's going to have data
real time up until about 15 days prior.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you can guarantee that. So that's what they're looking at on that dashboard. That's what they're viewing. And that's just the free version that you've described. Is that right? Or
so
is
the
this
dashboard
paid?
is the paid version. What's
Okay.
free for everyone, and this is kind of like my deal with the community, is like you're sharing your data with me. I think I have a true like duty to like let you look at this for free. Even if you don't share your data, you can actually go for free and like open the spreadsheet and it's not downloadable. You can't do like full analysis, but you can basically browse whatever you want. You can filter it. There's instructions on how to do that and whatever. And then like using the little thing in the corner of your Google Sheet, we're all like accountants here. We know how to do that. You could set it to like show me the average or show me the count of or show me whatever.
Sure.
And you could basically like, you could figure it out. And the only reason the dashboard's not fully free is like at that point, like there's nothing I can productize.
No,
I
it makes
wish there was
sense.
a way, but
To be able to manipulate the data and get cleaner view of it and get something that's more personable to you, you should be paying for that. That's like any other product. You've got your free version, and then you've got the paid version that's actually going to be helpful for you. And so you're selling that as a subscription. How are you selling the dashboards?
Yeah, annual subscription. You pay one amount annually, and you get updates every quarter.
Cool.
Yeah.
I see a lot of potential in you also being a place where people can find employees. And I mentioned that to you when we were together last week, a couple weeks ago, and you said you've already got something in the works for that. So let's hear that, because I feel like that's the holy grail for you, is being able to service both sides of this, help the employees and help the employers by staffing people and finding positions for people.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
It's sort of like a job board, but it's not.
Yeah, the opposite of one. So I'm trusted with a lot of like anonymity in this data and whatnot. And like, I like to think like I've built a reputation that like, if I say you're good, like then you're good, right? Like I'll take care of you. And so
you sound like a Don when you say that. If I say you're good, I'll take care of you. That sounds like the Don, the actual Dom.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Italian background too. So yeah, basically I kind of put in this thing and I was like, hey, like I really don't like the relationship between recruiters and accountants, where it's like they're like hounding you. And like some recruiters are great, and those are the ones I try to collaborate with, but some are like aggressive and they're like, your expectations are way too high, and they'll try to like gaslight you into taking a job. And I was like, no, this is backwards. So why don't you input in here, like just put your LinkedIn, like I can assess from there, like if you're like a reasonable candidate, and tell me like, what would you be curious in hearing about? Like, what would you be potentially willing to leave your job for if we found you a fit, right? So
what salary? What salary is your desired salary that you would leave this current role?
Yeah. So there's a field in there, which is like what makes this unique, is minimum base pay. And then there's a couple specific, like these are like small boutique recruiters that I've like partnered with who are allowed to essentially fish from that pond. And if they break any of my rules, they're out. So the rules are basically like, you put a minimum base pay, and like the way it's formulated is don't contact me for anything where the base is less than. Yeah. And so like right now, like I'm working with someone on some really, really good roles for like Dallas for like tax and audit and stuff like that. And basically like, right, I have people who are matching and they're like, we're willing to pay up to 135. And I have a couple people on the website who are like, talk to me about roles paying more than 130 in tax in Dallas. And so I can kind of like make that connection. Basically, for me to not be left out of the loop, I have a thing where if you get a job through that, I will pay you $1,000 for getting the job through it. And then I like my fee structure depends a little bit, but is like roughly like 5% of salary, or maybe 6. Hang on. I think it's 6% of salary.
You're working out those details.
Yeah.
Those details are still being worked out, but you're getting a percentage of the salary, 5 to 6%.
Yeah, which is way less than like a recruiter.
And you're giving the employee $1,000 for getting their job. They're getting $1,000.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them $1,000 because thanks for using my service.
Wow.
You know? Yeah.
Fascinating. A little bump for them. You would, okay. And they're getting placed with somebody that's already, no games here. They can now safely leave whatever job they're at to go, because this was what they targeted. It's one of those here. I'm going to put a little information in the bucket, my little wish bucket right here, and you're going to grant those wishes for people as they come available. Yeah.
And a lot of the people like might never get contacted because some people are out on a fishing trip,
wish.
Right?
You can't grant all the wishes.
Yeah. And some of these people are out on a fishing trip. They're like, hey, I'm an analyst. Talk to me for jobs paying over $200,000. And I'm like, it's going to be quiet for you, Sure. But so we're trying to kind of like change the flow of things. It hasn't like the uptake hasn't been what I thought it's been, but like there's some movement there. Like there's some people who are kind of getting some good intros and stuff's moving. So
I think this sounds like a passive way to get it started, but you can be a little bit more active in recruiting for this and marketing it as well to firms and making it a little bit more. Once you have more people available and willing to do this and more candidates, because that's what it is. It's all about the candidates, especially with this pipeline issue. You're helping solve the pipeline problem through transparency.
And the granularity of it is a big kind of feature too, right? Because if it's like, man, like it's the third person I've lost to EY. Well, you can go, okay, well, what's EY paying in your market? Right? Like you can literally go find that. Like, what's EY paying in your market? Okay, cool. Like, this is what people are leaving for. What's the spread between what they're paying internal promotions versus external hires? Oh, cool, they're paying them a 5% premium. I can maybe explain that to my staff who's leaving. I can tell them, like, hey, you're going to be brought back into the band, but your offer is going to be 5% higher than it should be. So, like, they now have to, like, regulate that, and you're not going to get the 5% raise. Like, you can have these, like, very intelligent conversations based off of, like, the data that's in here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but it starts that conversation and it grounds it. It's hard to have those conversations if you don't have data to point to. So... you know, now this goes back to like hiring and firing and all other people related aspects of running a practice. Now you have some hard data.
Yeah.
This is dope. Dom, you got some advice for our students? You've been doing, well, let's talk a little bit about your podcast too. So
sure. Yeah.
You've been doing a podcast. What episode are you now?
28?
28. Yeah. I heard that I'm your girlfriend's favorite episode of that
You
podcast. I hope that it's still true after 28 episodes.
Still true.
I was on there. A lot of our other peers, a lot of people that have been on Accounting High have been on the show. What have you been learning now, or what's your pursuit? What's your goal now with the podcast? I know it was at first, like, and still probably is, to bring more awareness to the brand, Big Four transparency. But you got to be getting so much out of this, to talking to all these great people.
Like, just building out my own network, like getting to know you, getting to know, like, right? Like, this is like 28 people who I think are in like highly desirable positions in the accounting space, and they have done something incredible, and they've reached a space that, like, I think is very enviable. People in general want to be where they are. Building up my tribe, I'm not surrounded by entrepreneurs. I have like not a lick of that in my family. By doing this podcast, I'm meeting all these people and I get to learn from them. I can reach out. Now I'm starting to become like a really good router of people, where I'm like, oh, you're pursuing this? Like, go talk to this other person.
A router of high performing people too.
I'm surrounding myself with just amazing people who are telling me how they got to where they are. And I find that incredible, and I find that super interesting. A side, point of that, I think I've maybe sold myself on like one day, like I could be interested in trying to start a firm. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, no, wow. I didn't realize that was another outcome of this, because other people have said that to me, where they've gone into... or they've been in tech and then they go out and they start a firm. And I've interviewed a few on my show too, where they've like, just the more they talk to accounting firm owners, the more they want to start a firm, and then they end up doing it. So that's pretty cool that that's happening to you as well. Maybe in the future, maybe you'll be a student at Accounting High soon.
Honestly, possible. Again, like I said, I need to focus on Big Four transparency, like heads down, because I always get that like inkling of like, oh, maybe I'll go do this. And I'm like, no. Like, you have this thing, it's working, heads down, focus on this, make this incredible. And then, and then who knows, maybe in 5 years, like, it's such a well-oiled machine, it's doing well, I could pull the Scotty Scarano back out and like focus on some other project, right? Or who knows. But for now, the sole focus is on that. Yeah, only good can happen from like surrounding yourself with like awesome people, and then just trying to bring value to them whenever you can, of like, oh, you're doing that? Like, I actually know the person who has done that, who's one step ahead of you. Go talk to them. And then now, like, they're eager to introduce you to whoever else is like cool in their world, right? Like, it's only good things will happen from that. And I'm playing the very, very long game. Like, I'm 28. I'm playing a game where I'm like, hey, maybe this comes back to me in 15 years. Maybe it doesn't. Like, whatever, I don't care, right? But I just think that only good things can come from that.
Damn, I didn't even ask how old you were. I didn't realize you were only 28. That is crazy. Yeah. I know all this work history is very, very recent. So I don't know, but you carry yourself like you're at least in your 30s. So
Thank you. And I'm balding like my 40s. So
oh,
we're good.
all right. Well, there you go. That's another theme that tends to happen with these. Like the other guy we just had on, Tim Petrey, it was the same thing. He's pretty young too, but actually he's 10 years. He's got 10 years on you. And obviously the pictures at when he was your age, he definitely had hair. No more hair.
Yeah.
That was just an anecdote. Yeah, an anecdote. It's coming, but you still got your beard. You still always have that.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no grays in there. That's for sure. I noticed that.
No.
This is awesome. You're learning so much through doing this podcast, and it's got you. You've got this entrepreneurial, and I've noticed this theme here. You're very young, but you're still kind of pursuing different passions as you go, and focusing on the things that you are interested in, and kind of setting aside the things that you're not. Because why waste your time? And you recognize that at a really young age. I'm not going to waste my time on the stuff I'm not interested in, because it's just going to be a hamster wheel or a treadmill that you don't enjoy being on. Otherwise, get off the treadmill and start building something. Start going upward instead of staying horizontal or lateral.
Well, it's a blessing and a curse, but I don't know, the way my brain works, like if I'm not into something, I'm also just bad at it. Like I can't, I'll be sitting there and I like can't get myself to like open my laptop and do it. Right. So I find out pretty quickly that like, hey, if I'm not working on the things I want to be working on, like it's going to be trouble.
Yeah. But if you are doing the things that light you up, then it's also trouble for everything else, because you're not going to do anything else. You're just going to do that. If it's something that's lighting you up, you're all in, and you're creating this job posting. What do you call it? Big Four transparency? Just a salary, like
like an anonymous compensation database, I guess, is like
database, job database, compensation database. I'm trying to think of like the 2-word thing I can use. Comp database is probably right. You're going to build a comp database that nobody else is doing, and you're going to spend all your time doing that outside of the time that you're spending actually working your full-time job. In FP&A, you're still probably spending more hours just building this at night, all in your off time.
A lot, yeah. So, and now I can't wait to like what I can do with, those 40 hours a week freed up. I'm really looking forward to that.
Dope. Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll check in with you in the future years at Accounting High. Thanks for joining our students here. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out Dom. You can check out Big Four Transparency. Class dismissed. Peace out, students.
Thanks, Scotty.
Thanks.